Welcome to the Embodiment Podcast. This show is for you if you see the body as more than a brain taxi. It's for people interested in coming home to the body as a holistic aspect of who we are and how we live. Episodes contain practical tips, exercises you can take away, and interviews with specialists from around the world. I'm your host for today. I'm Allison Lindsay. So on the show today, we have Kathleen Booker, the Jedi of Calm, who I'm delighted is here to join us today. Kathleen is a native New Yorker, passionate about conscious connected breathwork. And for over 10 years, she's been using her breath coaching and intuitive skills to support individuals looking for growth, healing, peace, and joy, and knows firsthand the healing and transformation that breathwork can bring. So Kathleen, it's great to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Allison, really, I am honored and just so humbled. I just have to give a woo-woo for the Embodiment Conference because, oh my God, I love what you guys are doing. And for everybody out there listening, please support this organization. What they are putting out is just life-enhancing. So thank you so much for the privilege of being a part of the podcast.
Yeah, it's a thrill to have you here. And as a fellow breath worker, I'm particularly excited to be able to talk to you today about something that I'm very passionate about, which is the power of healing and the power of breath work and what it can do for us, especially at a time like this in the world when it feels like it's really needed more than ever.
Ooh, yes, in more ways than one, right? And hopefully we'll have the opportunity to, I'll share a little bit of breath with the listeners if we can.
I think that would be a lovely thing to do. If there's a short exercise or something a little bit further on, that would be a great thing to do, I think.
Excellent, excellent.
So my first question, Kathleen, I have to ask you, the Jedi of Calm. Where did this come from? I love it. Where did it come from?
It was a divine download. It really was. It's so funny because just the other day I was trying to think of how that came forward. And I just remember that it was there. I said, that's it. And on we went. I was trying to come up, I think, with names for what I do, and I just gave it over. Uh-huh. I gave it over to Fantastic. Spirit. I said, you're way so much better at this than I. Figure it out and let me know. And it really was a download because poof, I was like, the Jedi of Calm. And so, yeah, a download.
I love it. I absolutely love it. In fact, I'm a little bit jealous that you got that first. It's fantastic.
Don't be.
So, Kathleen, tell us a little bit about your story. When did you first come across breath work? What prompted you to train? What was your journey like?
Oh my gosh. I have to share with you that I really love to tell my story. And I love to tell my story, especially during this pandemic, because there's someone who is feeling the same way that I was. Life for me was really horrible. Mm-hmm. However, I was so comfortable in the horribleness that I didn't know the depth of its horribleness, but I knew something was off. I never stayed at a job longer than a year or 2 years. And I got to tell you, nowadays, everyone is beginning their own business, right?
Yes.
Jobs are... everything is being outsourced, but at that time, I never stayed at a job longer. And as a child, I was always deemed the happy one, mm-hmm. but there was always, when I look back now, an emptiness behind that. And I didn't know what that was as a little one. As an adult, again, as I shared, I never worked any place longer than a year, 2 years. And and this is what always gets me, I never deemed myself worthy of doing something that really I liked. I won't, at that time, I didn't even get into feeding my soul. What the heck was that? But, just something that, oh, that's interesting. I would cut myself off at the knees saying, nope, you don't have what they want. You wouldn't be able to live up to what they're asking for without even going for the position. So I did the best I could at that time. And yet I still, there was a wanting. There was an awareness of the emptiness and the desire to fill the emptiness, but no words or actions as to how to do that. What was the path? So I still had that yearning, and the yearning led me to different books, to different workshops, different churches, all types of things. And I wound up at this one school, and I discovered the breath. Mm-hmm. And when I got to the breath, my ego was like, oh no, do not go there. Do not pass that threshold. And what the deceptive intelligence, the mind chatter, the ego, was trying to stop me from healing, but what was ready to be healed was being raped by my father as an infant and a toddler. And for the listening audience, this is my story. I always like to share that this is my story. Everyone has their own story. And the breath hooked me in that moment. I still tried to shy away with it, go, no, no, no. But it kept saying to me, come hither, my dear, come hither. And it would say it in such a loving, lulling way, just come. So I would go back to the breath. And at that time, I was working, oh my God, yet another dead end, dreadful, mind numbing job. Oh, and I went and I got certified. Mm-hmm. And I still tried to listen to the ego. And I'm human, right? We're all human. We're all going to say yes and then go, oh, hell no. Yes. Oh, no. Yes. No, no. We're all going to do that. And I went back to my last dead-end job, and I thought, I started using the breath to support me to make it through each day of that job. And the breath just started opening up my eyes, because truly, until I believe from my personal and professional opinion that the only way out is through. If we try to sidestep a step, whatever we're trying to sidestep will just hop on our shoulders and go along with us to the next step. So I knew I had to make peace with where I was. I had to find the blessing in where I was. And I asked the breath, I used the breath, I rested in the breath to support me, to guide me, to lead me through. And finally, on April 4th, 2014, I pressed send. That date and time is forever etched in my mind. And I released the job in a loving way. And that's a huge distinction. Not running away, but in a loving way. I had made peace. I was clear. The cords were cleanly cut. and I let it go. And the next week, I was teaching breath work to 13 men in a maximum security prison, upstate called Sing Sing. And ever since then, I have been teaching breath, witnessing people unfurl from moment to moment, breath to breath, and it's delicious. Now, would I tell everybody do breath work and life is going to be peachy keen forever? No, that's not true.
Indeed, it is not, but it does help.
It is a tremendous way to soften the edges of a pandemic, to soften the edges of collective consciousness trauma being heaped upon all of us at this time of this virus. It softens it. It softens the headlines. It gives you the courage to turn the television off and say, you know what? I've had enough. I'm not going to watch any more of this. It just increases my cortisol levels, and no, thank you. I'm going to go watch some kitten videos on YouTube.
Much more fun. Or get outside in nature. Do something nourishing for yourself as opposed to constantly filling up on podcasts and the news that just, particularly around things that perhaps we can't do much about, I think, Kathleen. This is what I often feel. And then, so what can I do to nourish myself, as you say?
Well, we do have to nourish, and we also have to be in the know, right? And I feel that the breath gives us that line of distinction, that inner knowingness, because as you know, Allison, the breath opens up so much our little intuition, that being able to hear that little still small voice. It really expands that voice. And that voice may say, well, you know, you ought to read this article. Ooh, pass on that one, girl. It's really not going to do anything for you, but send you to the bake shop and ask the baker to give you a dozen donuts. So don't read that one, you know, read that one. Or yes, you need to show up here. And it also, and this is something that I'm finding in this time, it also clears our throat chakra. I'm finding for so many people in this time, the throat chakra is blocked. And myself also, right? So the breath also gives us that energy, that clarity, that courage to speak our authentic truth, because our voices are to be heard in this time.
Yes, I think you touched on so many things there, and thank you for sharing your story. As you say, it is personal to you, but I'm sure there were many points within that resonate with people, that often that sense of emptiness, or perhaps that feeling that we've kind of gone along with society's expectations. We've done all the things that we're meant to have done, but somehow it still doesn't feel like we're fulfilled, or that life has meaning. And I think it's really interesting you're talking about the throat chakra and being able to kind of express ourselves. I'd love you to talk a little bit more about how that's been for you, what you've seen in other people perhaps as they've opened up and been able to express themselves more fully, what that's brought them.
Oh boy, yes, absolutely. What comes to mind immediately is a client of mine, and I'm going to be cryptic to keep the integrity and sacredness of my work, who, as all of us desire, to be loved, to be seen, to be heard, and to know that we matter. However, this individual was in a very unloving relationship, marriage, and so unhappy in the marriage that this individual stepped out of the marriage simultaneously with others. And the others that they chose to have relations with were extremely unloving, extremely unloving. So in the marriage, unfulfilled, not speaking their truth. In the relationships, unfulfilled, disrespected, and feeling like this. For those who are just listening, my energy is just shrinking down. And as we began to breathe, this individual found their voice to speak up, not only about the marriage to their partner, to say, love you, mean it, but I'm out. And to do it in a kind way, because it doesn't have to be unloving. If someone's unloving to you, that doesn't mean that you're unloving to them. However, they spoke their truth and spoke what it was that they desired from the union but weren't getting. And they released the marriage, moved out, and released the other relationships, and said to those individuals who were really extremely disrespectful and unkind, I matter. I deserve to be respected. I'm done. And their voice carried them so much further, spoke up at their job, got a promotion and a raise.
Wow. So what I'm really hearing from you, Kathleen, you've mentioned it twice, I think, the sense of empowerment that you received when you left your job, and also this sense of kindness. And also in this client of yours, both times, it feels as though the breath is giving both kindness and empowerment to situations that perhaps people have felt out of control in the past.
I like to say, Allison, that the breath invites us to remember our truth, that the breath invites us to remember I'm whole, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm loving, I'm lovable, I'm deserving. It reminds us, as you said earlier, as we walk in this world, having our human experience, schmutz, I call it, gets heaped upon us, and it can dim our light. It can cloud our innate knowingness, because our knowingness can't be taken away, can't be given away, can't be marred, can't be chipped at. It can't be. And the breath brings us right back there. And I really believe also part of that, for our scientific people in the audience, that is also releasing the cortisol, because breath work releases cortisol from the body. Cortisol is stress. It's adrenaline. It's that fight or flight. It's the constantly in this state where we're so agitated and so taunt. How could we have a thought or take a breath that enables us to connect to our higher selves, to quiet even for a nanosecond, as I always like to say, because I love A Course in Miracles, a holy instant, just a holy instant. That's all you need to remember and to, oh, okay, yeah, that person doesn't get to speak to me in that manner, or, oh, this feeling, this taste of, I want more out of life. Yes, I can have it. I can. And then the breath goes on to remind you of your courageousness and of your fearlessness. Now, let me just stop right there and say, does that mean that fear will forever be out of your life? No.
Oh, I wish that were true. Actually, I don't wish that were true, because that would be a diminished life experience.
I wish I could tell you that. And, I will share with you and with the listeners that currently I am in a personal life situation that, and I've shared about this before, that has been ramping up over the past year and a half, year and 3/4. I choose to show up. It is my choice. And in making that choice, I must show up fully. Mm-hmm. It can't be a half, a kind of sorta show up. I must show up fully, 100%. And I am face to face with things that quite honestly, Allison, I wish I didn't have to face. I wish I didn't. And it does create fear. It does. And it does, my mind goes into the what if scenarios. Oh my gosh, what if this happens? Oh my gosh. And the breath just brings me back. It brings me back and it gives me the ability to put my big girl panties on and deal with the situation at hand. Because the situation at hand, and there are 3, yay, that I get to show up for simultaneously, and then there are moments when I think, oh my gosh, as Jesus said in the Bible twice, yo, could you take this cross from me? Is there somebody else I can give this to? And I say it I'm saying it with laughter because for me, I do need laughter and we all need laughter. However, it is real. There are moments, I'm human, where it is overwhelming. However, the breath gives me the courage to, expand and to go to my well of resilience, of courage, of clarity. And each time I go to that well, it's at a deeper depth. Mm. So the breath shows me that I am of limitless potentiality because it is only with, through, by limitless potentiality, being able to rest in that, breathe in that I'm able to go forward, through, under, around, or over, with fear by my side or sitting on my shoulder or on the top of my head, and to put my left foot, then my right foot, my left foot, and my right foot. It's the breath. The breath, again, I go back to what I shared earlier. It reminds us of our truth. It reminds us of that we are, as the Course in Miracles, the eachness of the allness of the oneness that is limitless potentiality, the depths of which we will never, ever reach.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And I love this thought of how all the things that the breath brings us, particularly that access to joy, that I've been looking quite a lot recently into some of the science behind the breath. We're beginning to get more research coming out now, which is fantastic. And looking into things like how it improves decision-making, how it improves our ability to attend to things, how it gives us that greater clarity of mind, which I think when we're in fear can be really amazing to help us to cut through some of that and see things objectively. And also how it opens up our creativity.
Oh my gosh, yes. And the intuition. Well, Breathwork has one of the scientific papers written. It says that it shrinks the amygdala gland, which speaks directly to our frontal cortex. And that's that place of this. And the smaller the amygdala gland is, the less it communicates with the frontal cortex. And this goes from this to this. And that means that cortisol, stress, which can fog our decision-making, choice-making, I don't like the word decision, choice-making capabilities. It just lessens the tightness, because when we're tight, good grief, what can we do, right? How are you going to think when you're like, and your face is all, And don't get me wrong, audience, there are times when I am totally, However, I do know, okay, Kathleen, hang on. Yeah, let's take a breath. And, one of the things I'd like to share with your audience also is that the breath doesn't have to be big. Start right where you are. Start right in the now. So with a lot of my clients, they experience panic attacks and With the isolation in this pandemic, many are experiencing panic attacks from the isolation and the masks and everything. And I say the breath doesn't have to be huge, because the breath is so brilliant and so loving that if all you can do is little shallow breaths, inhales and exhales, and allow yourself to rest. In your inhale and exhale, your breath is so brilliant, it will begin to breathe you and your breath will expand. You know, we get to trust our breath because our breath got us up this morning, right? Our breath is supporting us for our blood to pump through our body, working our brain. I'm blinking my eyelids, thanks to the oxygen in my body. And I haven't given a single thought or effort to, okay, Kathleen, inhale now. All right, Kathleen, exhale now. All right. None of that. The breath is so kind and loving that it just does it all automatically. So when we put a little bit of thought, willingness even, to trust our breath, rest in our breath, as it says in is it Winnie the Pooh? Oh, the places you will go. Is that Winnie the Pooh or Dr. Seuss? I think it might be Dr. Seuss. Oh, the places you will go. Oh, the expansion you will experience in your mind, body, soul, and emotions.
That is quite beautiful and a really good reminder. And I think it's interesting to talk about. Obviously, the world is in an incredibly strange place at the moment.
Yeah.
Something that none of us have ever experienced. So I'd love you to perhaps sort of share your thoughts a little about how perhaps you're advising clients, or what you would suggest people might do to help them through this time when things do feel really tough. Maybe they are feeling isolated and alone.
Well, for me, my freezer is full of French fries. And that's very real. I either get my French fries from Trader Joe's or I make homemade French fries. And I eat my French fries being kind and gentle to myself. I choose not to stress about, oh my God, here goeth another cellulite dimple with another heap of French fries. I choose to allow myself to be kind and gentle to myself. And that's what I share with a lot of folks. I will also say in this time, all of the feels are coming forward. All of them. So we are experiencing, myself included, I said we, up and down, up and down, up and down. And to be kind and gentle to yourself if at one moment you are angry as a mofo, and the next moment you're sobbing huge, ugly cry tears. Right where you are, that's the now. It's okay. I have to share with you, Allison, that I also feel very much that as dreadful as this time is, there is also such an energy present right underneath the surface that is transforming, transcending, shifting paradigms, shifting misbeliefs that have been running our lives, habits that have been running our lives for so long, shifting them, shifting us out of that not enoughness, unworthiness, not good enough. Oh, I'm, who I am isn't enough, or I can't have what I desire. Shifting those beliefs out of us. And that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. And there's nothing we have to do. However, as this energy, this undercurrent, loving undercurrent is moving, grooving, shifting like a river. Let's take the Grand Canyon. If you look at the Grand Canyon, look at how the water just smoothed those rocks. So if you've got that type of energy, it's 1:11, angels. As I turn off my phone, sorry, it wasn't off before. So if you've got that type of energy moving in you, through you, with you, as you need to rest.
Quick break in the podcast to ask you to look at techcrowdfund.org. That's TEC for Charlie, crowdfund.org. On here you can see some ridiculously good deals about embodiment. I mean, most of my books and courses, they're things I'm giving away. This is all related to the Embodiment Conference. You can get a sneak peek at what some of the technology for the conference is going to look like. You can decide if you want to be a Zoom food grandmaster, a ninja professional, a unicorn rider, a dolphin sensei. All this will make complete sense on the website. Take a look. The offers really are very, very good. We're basically raising money ahead for the conference, so there's some offers there that you just won't get again. If you're interested in embodiment, then do check that out. It's TEC for Charlie, crowdfund.org, techcrowdfund.org. And back to the show.
To rest. And there's nothing you have to do, just like, the mountains that are in the Grand Canyon. There they are in all of their majesty. They didn't have to do anything. However, we will have to rest, shifting all of those paradigms, ways of being for such a long time. We need to rest because we didn't get there, right? In one quick moment. The Grand Canyon wasn't made blink, right? It took a little bit of time. So if we're willing to be kind and gentle with how our Grand Canyons are being made, releasing the thoughts of unworthiness, undeservedness, not enoughness, I don't know, doubt, releasing that. If we can just be and be okay with, well, today I'm angry, I would advise you to steer clear of me, or I will come back tomorrow and give you an apology, or, to walk with tissues and to be honest and say, today is a day, and to get support. And support looks like attending the embodiment conferences, listening to their podcasts. Support them. Buy their subscriptions. Be a sponsor for their upcoming conferences. Support them. This is a place that is supporting you. Get help. Nobody does it alone. I certainly have a team.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that this is showing us is actually how interconnected we are, and to see something that's affecting the whole world at one time is extraordinary to me. I have a regular call with friends I used to work with, and we've got people in the States, in Jakarta, in London, in Singapore, and we all come together once a week and have a chat, and we're all impacted by this. And I find it quite fascinating, that sense of connection that perhaps hasn't felt quite like that previously. So we're separated, but actually we're closer together in many ways. And also sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the sense of surrender and acceptance that we have to somehow find in ourselves to a situation that we're not really in control of.
Exactly. And it's the throat chakra also, because here's our voice. We are in a time, again, I feel, undercurrent of true transformation, so that we can recreate, we can reimagine, redesign our world and how we be in this world, and create a world, speak it, of equanimity. One of the things that this time is showing is the incredible divide, the incredible inequalities, the injustices. And we can speak as we breathe because the breath is an incredible unifier. We use our authentic, heartfelt voice to say, you know what? Things have gone on like this for so long. It's not acceptable anymore. This is an equal, fair playing ground, equal for all. Because just like the breath doesn't give a hootenanny. Oh, I just dated myself by saying hootenanny. Woo-hoo. The breath doesn't give a crap the color of your skin, your sex, your religious orientation. It doesn't care who you prefer to kiss. It doesn't care what clothes you have on. It doesn't care. The breath is loving, tender, kind to everybody. Everybody.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of your other work, Kathleen. You mentioned at the beginning that kind of your first job, I guess, when you left, was to go and work with prisoners, and I imagine that's would be a fairly cynical population to go and talk to, perhaps, about the breath work.
Oh my
Tell us
God,
a little bit about that. No?
It was so beautiful. Prior to going to my first official gig, I hurled myself at everyone who would allow me to give a breathwork session for like 1.75 years. I'll come in. I'll do it. But they were so open. And it was so beautiful. The healing that just happened in there. I shared with the men, and I've shared this before. I shared with the men what had happened to me with my father. And one guy, when I was finished, he came up to me and he just gave me this bear hug. And he said to me, I'm so sorry that the man who brought you into this world, excuse me, who was supposed to protect you, did that to you. And he said, on behalf of all men, I'm sorry. Wow. Please forgive me. Huge healing for me, huge healing for him. And I am so excited because since that time, I have been trying to get back into jail legally. And I'm so honored that I am now going to do some breathwork videos for a juvenile detention center and also the guards that work there. I am thrilled. I get to work with that population. I get to work with corporations, corporations whose employees are all over the world and they have their home life. How do you balance, your 2-year-old or your 15-year-old sucking their teeth? Oh my God, you're still using the computer, all of these things, or your 2-year-old, we can't play now, mommy or daddy, and then your dog photo bombing, your Zoom meetings. For me, it's my cats, and I'm surprised that my Gracie hasn't photo bombed us just yet. How do you balance that? And then if your family or friends are experiencing people that passing from this virus. Last Monday, a week ago, 8 days ago today, we buried my mother-in-law. She did not pass of the virus, but, and then another friend of mine passed, not of the virus, but on Friday. And then I'm quarantining with my mom, who is an elder, keeping her safe. And then you're working with all of this. So working with corporations so that the workers do get done what they need to get done. However, they get it done with a bit of balance. And again, the discernment of the breath of, oh my gosh, I can't do the Zoom meeting now. I got to tell you, can't do this. Got to take care of my little 8-month-old and come back and get your work done and take care of family. So the balance and the discernment of who's up, who's up now. It's interesting.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And I know that you talked about the prisons, and I know you also work with other community groups, and that sounds like it's very important work to you. I wondered if you'd like to share a little bit about some of the other community work you've done and why you think the breath work is so important for them.
Oh my gosh. Well, for all of us, for Christ's sake, because we all do breathe. If we don't, we're dead. I do work with caregivers, also people experiencing Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's just amazing to watch that community engage more in life, and how to teach the caregivers to care for themselves first and foremost, right? And then to give to their loved ones. And we're all caregivers in some shape, form, or fashion, right? Because we could have our own businesses. I could work for a corporation and I'm either an employee, a team member, or a director, or a manager, or a team lead, and I'm caregiving in whatever role I'm working in that organization. I also work with, and I'm so excited, I am doing some videos for National Alliance on Mental Illness, because nowadays mental illness is looking very different. You know, it doesn't have to be what, and I'm putting it in quotes, the norm says mental illness is. Mental illness with isolation and the collective consciousness of this virus looks very different. Am I reaching out and speaking with my friends? Am I not answering my phone? If someone texts me, am I responding? Am I not eating? Am I overeating? All of these things. So with that association, and also I work with a group who are mentally challenged with severe schizophrenia and, anxiety to a whole new level of anxiety. And it's just amazing. The breath is the same for everybody, even women who are pregnant. And, during this time, it's just amazing. Everyone responds to the breath the same. How the breath just allows the shoulders to relax. And it allows a surrender, because the word surrender can sometimes trigger people, right? However, it's so subtle, the breath, that it allows a surrender and your breath to just flow within you, through you, as you. And you're able to take the pedal off of that panic attack. If you have addictive habits, to maybe look at that bagel. Do I really need to eat this now? And the power to put it down. It's amazing.
So it's coming again back to that sense of perhaps of clarity about what we're doing, giving ourselves that moment to pause, become aware, and then make a choice.
Yeah. A choice for your highest and greatest good.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. It's really beautiful.
The breath is a bad mofo.
What I'm noticing, Kathleen, I've been working with the breath since 2014. And when I first started it, frankly, a lot of people thought it was quite weird. Now, everybody seems to be coming into it, and it's kind of coming very much into the zeitgeist. It's very popular. Lots of people are getting interested, and I guess I'm curious as to why you think that is and where you think it might take us. Where might it go?
Well, the breath is important. Again, we're all breathing. If you ain't breathing, you're dead. That's number one. And the breath is important because it supports our respiratory system. It helps us have healthy lungs. With this virus, some of the science is showing our respiratory system is vital. So it reminds us of vital health in our respiratory system. It enhances our immune system. So yes, and one wants to be discerning. Yes, one wants to breathe, and you want to breathe healthily. Remember, you've been breathing your whole life, right?
Absolutely.
So you know a little something, something. Now, is a guide necessary? I would say yes, for a while, because as we do breath work, things come up and forward, and you want someone there who can support you so that it comes up and out, not spiral back in. And because the breath work is the latest hot thing, you want to be mindful of who you work with. You want to be mindful. And I say that in a very loving way. You want to make sure that the person that you're working with is doing their work. Because if they're not doing their work, that could lead to a whole heap of stuff. So let me be clear. Let me not be vague. I feel that breath work is very gentle and very kind. There are things that can come up during a breathwork session. Absolutely. And you want someone there who knows how to hold that space for you. I'll give you an example. I did a group and I noticed someone's breathing and I thought, something's brewing over there. And I was able to support this person to stay, for me, grounded in their body. For me, the way that I work, everything that's out there is already here. There's no need for me to go way out there. It's all here. One can get a little lost out there. Oh, did you hear that loud music? My God, that person must be deaf. A car just passed by blaring music. So you want to make sure that if things get a little funky during your breathwork session, you have someone there who knows what the heck they're doing so that you are held in a loving, safe, sacred space. I don't think that breath work will be a flash in the pan. However, you want to make sure that who you're working with is not a flash in the pan facilitator.
I totally agree. And with the other interesting thing now is that everyone's moving online.
Yeah.
And so what difference do you think that makes in terms of perhaps
energy is energy? I have clients all over the world. Energy is energy, and the breath is energy, right? So, and for me, God is breath, breath is God. God is love, love is God, right? Your breath is love. And there is, I've noticed with my sessions now, they're just on. They excuse me, always have been. And you know what? I feel that there's a deepening to it because there's so much more that gets to be spoken to with the breath because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. There is a collective consciousness. There's an extra layer of heaviness. That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah. So perhaps I was just going to say now might be a time if you want to share anything sort of practically that perhaps people might like to try for themselves if they perhaps haven't experienced it and would like to have a little taste of breath. Is there anything you would suggest?
If we can just give 2 minutes, I'd love to do 2 minutes of breathing, just so that you can really see all of our listeners in 2 minutes what your breath creates within you and reminds you of. So as long as you're not driving or operating machinery, close your eyes And if you're sitting down, please put your feet flat on the ground and the backs of your hands on the tops of your thighs. And you feel your body just coming present to this right now moment. And allow your lower belly to soften. Just allow it. There's nothing you have to do. You don't have to poke it out. It will soften of its own accord. And the breath that we're going to do is conscious, connected breath work. Connecting your inhale to your exhale to your inhale, like a wave. A wave comes into shore and then melts back into the ocean, and begin to feel that delightful lulling of your inhale flowing into your exhale, and your exhale flowing into your inhale. Inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And if a thought comes forward, that's okay. As easily as it comes forward, it will flow right back out. And feel your breath. Feel the sweetness of it as you inhale. And as you inhale that sweetness, you exhale that sweetness into every cell of your body easily. You inhale that sweetness. You can almost taste the sugar as your breath flows through your nose and down in your windpipe, and you feel that sweetness in the cell of every cell of your body as you exhale. That sweetness in your cells is a relaxation even deeper of your muscles. It's also a vibrant energy. And you feel it from the soles of your feet to the top of your head, from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. Open your mouth, take a little inhale, and just sweetly exhale through your mouth. Gently wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and lovingly open your eyes.
That was absolutely delicious. Thank you. I was feeling quite calm, but now I'm even calmer. My shoulders have dropped. I can literally feel, and just as always, just that beautiful sense of kind of coming home, back to the present, back to myself. It is wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
It is.
I do love it.
The breath is awesome.
It truly is. So if people are thinking they'd like to take up a breathwork practice, Kathleen, is there anything you mentioned there about make sure you're not driving or operating machinery, but is there anything else they should be aware of from kind of a safety perspective?
Really, no. I'm a firm believer in breathwork is A-okay for those coming into the world. Those who are leaving the world, making their transition. My style is not harsh. If you feel anything, your breath will tell you. Your breath will tell you, hey, wait, hold up, wait a minute. This doesn't feel good. Listen, as I said earlier, trust your breath. Trust your breath. I'm not a fan of harsh breathing. That's me. If you have high blood pressure, easy does it. Easy. And again, trust your breath. Your breath truly will tell you. Just don't do it while you're driving or while you're operating machinery. Don't do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you're right. That sense of it doesn't have to be difficult. I love that feeling when you literally get to the breath breathes me. It's easy to breathe. It's really beautiful. And as you say, just trusting the breath. It knows what you need. It knows what you can handle. If emotions come up, it brings you what you need, and then you can integrate it.
I always say that whatever comes forward during a breathwork session is a gift from the breath. It's either something that is being healed, manifested, created, or dissolved. Stay with the breath. Stay with it. Because when we get out of that, then we leave source. Mm-hmm. We leave source and we go to humanness. Source knows better than my humanness will ever know. And my breath is source.
Absolutely. And what do you see as, do you have a vision, Kathleen, for the future of where you'd like things to go for yourself or for breathwork in general? What do you see? Where is the future?
Oh, I love the vision of all of us around the world taking a love-filled breath together and acknowledging one another's breath as, I see you, brother or sister. I see you, brother or sister. I see you, brother or sister. And the equanimity of the breath being the foundation of equanimity for everybody on the planet.
Yeah, so a way to connect us all, to connect our common humanity, bringing us all together. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. So just a couple of last questions for you, Kathleen.
Yes.
First of all, where can people find you if they want to hear more, find out more about all the amazing things you're doing? Where can they find you?
Well, I am on Instagram, of course. And my handle is I am Kathleen Booker. And my name is spelled Kathleen. Booker, Booker. You can reach out to me on my website, www.kathleenbooker.net. And to all of your listeners, I would like to offer, I do a free 30-minute Your Time chat. And that's a time where we talk about you, what's going on for you, and we talk about how the breath supports you in what you're going through. So if you would like to sign up for that, just email me, Kathleen at kathleenbooker.net, and put in the subject, Podcast with Allison. And we will schedule that for you. And you can also reach out to me on WhatsApp. I'm on Facebook. And I love to chat. So reach out. When I was little, they called me Chatty Cathy. So
that's beautiful. And the offer of the chat to people about how the breath can help sounds like an amazing offer and gift for people. So that sounds great. And then just, I guess, any last thoughts, comments, anything else you'd like to leave people with as we come towards the end of the podcast, Kathleen?
Well, I also would like, I have I'm sorry, I've totally forgot, but I also have a free breathwork session. So you can email me again and I will send you a downloadable breathwork session. And again, put in the subject, Podcast with Allison. So if I had to leave with any last words, it is, the breath is divine. The breath is everything. Trust your breath. And as your breath expands within you, you will be the light bearer of peace, of justice for all, of unconditional love for this planet. So expand your breath. Expand love.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. I really enjoyed it. It's always great to chat about the breath with someone else who feels as passionately about it as I do. Yeah. So I'm really happy to have had the chance to chat to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. One last thing. Support the Embodiment Conference. Sign up. Whatever they're offering, buy it. Be a sponsor for their conferences. They are changing the world. Be a part of that change. Support them.
Thank you very much, Kathleen.
Thank you, Allison. Bye, everyone.
Some ways to get more, to give back, and to get more involved. The biggest request that we have would be to share the podcast with your friends, people that you think would really enjoy it. Email it to them, put it on your social media, tell them about it. We would really appreciate that. Equally, if you want to support us financially, you can go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/embodiment podcast and give us $1 an episode. That's less than £1 if you're in the UK, so please go there. The podcast is hosted on the embodiedfacilitator.com website, although most people listen to it from iTunes. In iTunes, we'd certainly appreciate a review. The way that iTunes works means that a review means more people will find it. iTunes regards it as more important for searches. So even a couple of sentences review really does help us. Thank you. And if you want to go to the embodiedfacilitator.com, you can see the actual links to the site. There's comments on there. And there's also a Facebook group, which tends to be where people discuss things. So just put in the Embodiment Podcast into Facebook and you'll find the page. It's relatively quiet, but the group does have some discussion on it and we'll reply to things personally there. Also on the website, you'll find all sorts of freebies. There's free videos, free ebooks. There's ebooks you can buy, and of course, there is our newsletter list. If you want to stay in touch and learn about things like the Embodied Facilitator course, our next Embodied Yoga Principles teacher training, then go to that website and you'll see a little pop-up and you can get the newsletter through there. Okay, so those are the main ones. Tell your friends, pay us some money on Patreon, give us a review on iTunes, send us your email if you want to be on the newsletter list, and get involved on the Facebook page. Pick whichever one works best for you. Thank you.